Hey everyone, I got something on my mind that I've been wanting to talk about for a while regarding the current state of the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Now I'm of the opinion that the current generation of consoles may be the worst generation of consoles ever. Now hear me out, I'm not saying these consoles are bad and that gaming is dead and all that, but I do feel like this current generation of consoles is significantly lacking compared to previous generations. I'm going to be dividing the Xbox and PlayStation into separate sections of the video as I feel they both have serious issues but have different issues from each other. Also, I'm not going to mention Nintendo in this video because I think they're in a completely different ballpark from the other consoles. They're just doing their own thing and I don't have as many issues with Nintendo's current console as I do with the Xbox Series X and PS5. Now with all that out of the way, let's get into this. The Xbox Series X has many of the same problems as the Xbox One. I don't think it's as bad as the Xbox One necessarily. It has some good qualities. The Xbox One didn't have the increased support for Game Pass, slightly better first-party output, and quick resume is a nice new feature. However, Microsoft is still struggling to put out high-quality games consistently. Sure, Halo Infinite is good now, but it launched so poorly and took so long to get content that the player base has already moved on. Starfield was a forgettable, bland experience that got forgotten relatively quickly compared to Bethesda's previous games. And Redfall was a broken, embarrassing disaster of a game that even the devs admitted they didn't want to make. The only exclusive they've put out that's genuinely great is Forza Horizon 5, but it's also on Xbox One and it's just another Forza game we've played many times before. The Xbox Series X, much like the Xbox One, is in desperate need for a game that is considered to be a console seller. And if you're like me and have a PC, you really have no reason to get an Xbox at all. Now I fully support Microsoft putting their games on PC because I'm all for letting people play games wherever they want. But at the same time, the Series X has no real exclusives, is less powerful than a PC, and only has a few small quality of life features. There's no real reason to buy an Xbox. If you have a PC, that is. If they really want the Xbox to be tied to the PC, I think they should go hard on that angle. But as of right now, they're kind of half-assing it. They just put their games and Game Pass on PC when they could do so much more with the PC market while also being a console. If Xbox did something like adding Steam compatibility to the console or allowed more customization to the console, then I think it would be more appealing. Feels like the Xbox as a brand has lost its identity, and Microsoft buying all these developers and publishers and having nothing to show for it is baffling to me. I get games take time to be made, but it's been 3 years since they bought Bethesda, and Starfield and Redfall are the only exclusives they've put out from them. And yes, I'm aware Xbox has a few games lined up to release in 2024, like Avowed, Hellblade 2, and Indiana Jones, and that's great. I hope these games are good, and it's a step in the right direction. But it's still kind of baffling that the console released in 2020 is just now getting traction in terms of game library. With Microsoft recently acquiring Activision and having a solid lineup of games in 2024 as well as the Game Pass business model, I'm cautiously optimistic about the Xbox's future. I really hope they can turn things around because I was a fan of Xbox for most of my life and would like to see them do better and put out great games so everyone wins. I also want them to be a valid competitor to Sony so it pushes them to do better with their console. Also, speaking of Sony, now, while I think the PS5 is in a better position than the Xbox Series X, it still has many issues that makes me think it may be the worst console Sony has made. While Sony is putting out more games than Microsoft, and many of them being decent ones at that, a significant amount of them are remakes and remasters and cross-gen games that you could just play on PS4. On top of that, they increased the price of their online service, which is completely unjustified. People shouldn't be paying to play online at all, but the fact they are now charging $80 a year just to play online in 2024 is dumbfounding. And Sony isn't even paying for the servers of these games, the developers pay for them. So there's no reason for them to charge for online at all, let alone to increase the price of PS Plus. Then there's the fact they increased the price of the console outside the US. The lack of strong competition from Microsoft has made Sony complacent. They mostly rely on remakes and remasters of old games, third-party deals that prevent games from going to PC and Xbox where they otherwise would go to, and lower first-party output than previous generations of PlayStation. I mean, think about it. The first few years of the PS4's life cycle, we got Bloodborne, Uncharted 4, and Until Dawn, and probably many other games. Yeah, the PS4 didn't get a ton of exclusive until its later years, but it was much more frequent than the PS5's lineup of exclusives. The PS5 had one exclusive game in 2023, which was Spider-Man 2. Before that, it was mainly remakes and remasters outside of Ratchet and Clank and God of War Ragnarok. Another thing is, the PS4 didn't have cross-gen titles for nearly the same amount of time as the PS5. We're in the 4th year of the PS5's life, and we're just now getting no more cross-gen titles. But now Sony has announced that the PS5 has entered its later stages in life. So as of right now, the PS5 barely has any next-gen games or exclusives, has anti-consumer business practices, and is already entering its later stages in life despite having very few games and 3 years of cross-gen titles. On top of that, all the exclusive games releasing for PS5 in 2024 are all third-party deals. None of them are made by their own studios. Helldivers 2, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Rise of the Ronin, and Stellar Blade are all third-party exclusivity deals. So I'm just wondering why their first-party studios haven't been putting out much besides Insomniac, especially since Sony has been buying studios as well. Not on the same scale as Microsoft, but still, you'd think their studios would have more releases. With all that being said, the only reason I could see for getting either of these consoles would be if you had no interest in PC gaming for whatever reason. As someone with a PC, I very rarely play games on the PS5 and Xbox Series X, and I don't see much value in them personally. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the current generation of consoles and where I'd like to see some changes and improvements. Thank you for watching, and see ya.